Welcome to the Q&A on the masterclass that was recently published called Who's Really at the Steering Wheel of My Life? So I received a few questions. Okay, let's start with your questions, if there are any. Or not. And how can I find the core meaning? I have no idea. It is one of the things that you spend a great deal of time trying to figure out in life, right? So here's the good news. The good news is that you don't have to find that first. You can unravel the rest of the elements that we talked about. You can unravel what your core beliefs are and how they're leading to the rest of your life, and then come back to core meaning or create a core meaning. You're either going to find core meaning that was always there, or you're going to create one for yourself. So core meaning isn't something that you have to start with. You don't start with core meaning, actually. We start with finding out core values and beliefs, and we and you can jump back and forth between these elements. You can also start with your environment and your results, the most tangible, physical reality that you have access to. That is very telling. That can tell you so much about yourself. Core meaning can be something that you can spend all of your life detached from, all of your life denying, all of your life running away from. So you're not going to find it by saying, okay, so now I want to know my core meaning. What is it? You need to look at all the other elements. You need to look at all the other elements, and then once you unravel them one by one and connect them like a puzzle, you arrive at core meaning, which gives you immense peace and joy in life, really. An important question to ask when you're trying to find your core meaning and connectedness is, does the meaning that you give life give you in return for believing in it the strength, the valor, and the energy that you need in order to move forward in the toughest times when you hit rock bottom? Does that core belief serve you? That's the question to ask about the core meaning, the core connectedness. Does it help me to continue to move forward? Does it help me to get back to my best or not? How does it leave me feeling the majority of my time, the majority of my life? And how does this belief that I carry with me everywhere leave the majority of the people that I come in contact with feeling? Because believe it or not, the core connectedness, the meaning that you give life, communicates to people on an unconscious level. So what you believe deep, 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 deep down is going to leave the majority of people closest to you with a certain feeling. Evaluate that. And well, one of the core values that I think we all share is connection to one another. We are, no matter what you believe, whether we like it or not, we're connected and we need each other. And so it's a core value, or as I like to say, it's a program in here that is definitely not reprogrammable in your life. We are connected and we need each other, and we need to invest time and energy in our relationships. That means discomfort. That means discomfort. Relationships are not easy. Relationships are work. Um, your most cherished relationships, looking back, you'll know, have had their ups and downs and have had a great deal of difficulty, maybe friction, and you've dealt through them and they've brought you closer. So I would say that connection is definitely a core value or a pre-programmed um, program in our minds that we're living by. And the more you go against it, the more you will be conflicted and feeling unfulfilled and dissatisfied. And it's just going against yourself, going against the flow of life. Why do I mention relationships and career together? Okay. The reason why I mention these two together is because, first and foremost, they are interconnected. So they have a very close relationship with each other. I believe personally that how you treat your work, your business, the way that you bring home the bread, how you treat that is how you're going to be treating your closest relationships, and vice versa. So if you keep quitting and leaving every project that you start as an entrepreneur behind without accomplishing anything, without bringing it to fruition, well, that's how you're going to be in a relationship as well, or in relationships, in your friendships, with family, with creating a family. Now, there's no judgment here. There are definitely exceptions, but for the most part, what I find is when you say, I'm ready to start something and it's going to be amazing, and you start 6 months later, you're like, you know what? It's not what I thought it was. And I hit that blockage and that obstruction and that problem there. And yeah, I should have known better. I'm just going to quit now. And oh, I've got something better to look forward to. I'm going to create something that will serve me better. And you're going to for sure come up against the same blockages, the same problems, maybe a little bit different, but a good number of challenges 6 months in, if not earlier. And it's the same with your relationships. It's the same with starting a friendship and then first fight and you give up on the friendship, rather than seeing it as an opportunity to grow together, to make that friendship a stronger friendship. You meet someone, you fall in love, it's all well and good until one person is vulnerable, until one person needs to be vulnerable, and they run as fast as the wind because they don't want to be vulnerable. They don't want to face the challenge, the difficulty, the discomfort. One person gets triggered and the other person freaks out and runs away, you know. We all do it. And but it could be a pattern. That's what I'm talking about when I say look at it from a bird's eye point of view. Look at your relationships from a bird's eye point of view. Look at your projects, the things that you start, yeah, that you're passionate about, and you think, this is what I'm gonna reach, this is what I'm gonna arrive at 3 years in, 2 years in, 5 years in. The fantasy is crystal clear and it gives you a fantastic feeling. But a few months in, you give up. And that happens again and again. How many times has that happened in your life? It's very important to answer that question. How many times has it happened? Is it a pattern, this giving up and then moving on to a brand new project? Or do you complete your projects? do you allow the babies that you give birth to grow and come into fruition? It's just like having children. You don't just quit on your children. You don't just give up on them. It starts with them not wanting to eat and spitting all over the place, and you keeping on, you keep on gently feeding them and cleaning them. And yes, it's difficult, and you have to wash that brand new piece of clothing again and again and again, but you don't give up. You don't put your baby on the doorstep for someone to take it away and off your hands. you keep at it. That's unconditional love. That's love. That is what everything else is like. You need to look at everything as your baby. Like, you're gonna invest 20, 30, hopefully not 30, 18, 22-ish years of your time and money and energy and effort and peace of mind to bring this baby to fruition, to help it to become fruitful on its own. You're just the catalyst. You just have to be this really patient rock, yeah? Loving, compassionate, sometimes a little sacrificial rock. Yeah, I'm here, all right? I resent you right now. You're annoying me right now. I'm not feeling it right now, but I'm here, and I'm not going to give up. That's how everything is. That's how business is. That's how relationships work. And I think that it's so beautiful. And that's why in all of the ancient scriptures, among all cultures, you find that patience is such a virtue. Such a virtue. Just don't give up. If you're excited about it in the beginning, don't give up. Not until 20 years later. I think the time frame for everything is like a good decade. For children, probably 2 decades, yeah. For your business, at least a decade. Just remember the golden rule that everything you're excited about, everything that stirs good feelings in you in the outset, in the beginning, deserves patience. It deserves to be fought for. Your creative endeavors, they deserve your time and patience. That business that you're so excited about, that's going to be the work of your life, that you're passionate about, deserves your life energy, your time, your effort. That person that you're excited about, that you have very deep and intense feelings for, you need to spend time, effort, energy on it. It's just like watering a plant and taking care of it and tending to it. You can't just buy a plant and put it in a corner and say, wow, it's so beautiful, and not take care of it and expect it to continue to serve you with its beauty and oxygen. Everything takes time, effort, energy, most of all, patience. And all of these things are contained in one thing. I'm going to say it, love. Be love, and everything else falls into place. Don't have love, be it. what core value or belief have you yourself reprogrammed, and how has it affected your life? So I talk about this a lot in my videos already. I've mentioned a few things, but one other thing that I could add that I think might resonate with a lot of people. Before reprogramming, I had slowly come to believe, especially in the relationships, in the romantic relationships that I would find myself in, that affected me a lot in this belief that slowly began to form and take shape. That people are not equal, that there are people that are better than others. Now, a lot of you might be thinking, like, well, of course. And a lot of you might be thinking, oh my gosh. Well, I challenge you to a couple of questions. First and foremost, for those of you who are like, well, of course they're not equal. Where does this belief come from? Does it come from you thinking that you're better than others? Or does it come from you having done a great deal of work on yourself and having changed a lot and thinking that the other people who haven't done the work are beneath you? So do you see life as levels? Or do you think that people are not equal because, well, it's obvious, just look. There are people who are like animals in traffic and those who are not. People who are murderers and rapists and whatnot. And you take it to these, examples, these big examples to prove your point that we are not equal. The question is, where does this belief come from? I would love more engagement on this and to know, and for anybody who's going to listen to this later on the recording that I'm going to be posting up on Instagram and Facebook, I would love to know your comment, your opinion on this. Where does this belief that we are not equal come from? Where did we pick it up? I know where I picked it up slowly. I don't think that as a child I was by nature innately in that mindset. I just saw the kids and I thought we were all just a bunch of kids and we were just different in the way we looked. And as I grew up, this belief slowly began to take shape. And then for those of you who are like, oh my gosh, that's a terrible belief. Of course we're all equal. How are we all equal? There are so many differences between us. Why do you believe we are equal? Where does that belief come from? So I'm challenging both sides here. I'm challenging you to peel back the layers and really sit down and think about where your belief, whether it's A or B, comes from. Where does it come from? So important to know that. Is this truly your belief, or is it a fragment or fragments of other people's, the media's, your relationships, core beliefs that also came from other people, that came from other people? Is it from past generations? Does it come from books? Where does it come from? Does it come from personal experience purely? So for me, this was reprogrammed. I started out believing that we are equal. And then slowly I began to adopt the belief that we are not. And then slowly, as I was doing the reprogramming, I began to understand that we are all equal in potential. So depending on where you're born, who you're born to, what family you're born into, your genetic code, your DNA, your environment, depending on the food that you eat, the weather, the climate that you are raised in, depending on the education system that you're exposed to, so many different variables you will have filled your reservoirs of potential to the brim, not at all, or halfway through, depending on all of those variables. But the reservoirs of potential are the exact same in you, me, that criminal, that person in Timbuktu, whoever, it doesn't matter. If you're a bipedal animal, if you are human, you have the same reservoirs of potential as anybody else. As the most successful, the greatest leaders that ever lived. The question is, which reservoirs are filled more than the others, which less, and why? What leads to that? Once you find your why, you can either shift it and begin to fill that potential, or you can make peace with it being the way it is. The point is to find your why, find your reasons, and then make peace with it. And knowing that you're okay with how much each reservoir of potential is filled. And stop comparing yourself to other people. Stop it, people. Stop comparing yourself to other people. It's not doing you any good. It's not doing you any service. And I think that this belief that we all come from the same potential, but differ simply because of environmental, geographical, and genetic codes and upbringing, we stop judging each other. And room is made for empathy and compassion. So that's the way I see it. That's a definite reprogramming in my mind, a core belief that has shifted immensely, immensely. I do not believe that we are not equal. Yeah, you were born under different circumstances, but you have the same potential. So sorry, buddy, but there are no excuses. Either you're going to work your way to filling that potential and take responsibility, or make up excuses for the rest of your life. Everything can be learned. I'm going to say it again. I've said it before. I'll always say it. There's nothing that any of you cannot do if you set your mind to doing it. You're just not going to be able to do everything and learn everything in just one lifetime. That's the thing. Otherwise, if you were to live long enough, you absolutely could. So yeah.